Welcome in to the Dish and Ish podcast. That's Old DB. I'm Ravi Lulla. We are here with you on another week. We've had a couple good weeks in a row. I don't know if we're going to be able to top it.
Yeah, well, still, you know.
Oh, you know.
You know.
Well,
Shane, do we still have that guy in the system? My man, Art.
Oh, that's Art. Yeah.
Yeah, but still, you know.
Art will never, ever leave.
I know.
Have we talked to Art recently? It's been a minute.
We haven't talked to Art.
It's-
Either. Nah.
It's been a minute since
Hey,
we've
how are
talked
his
to Art.
cramps, Shane? Are they better?
I'm not a LeBron James fan.
I'm not a Laverne James fan either.
Yeah, but still, you know,
Yeah, but still, you
That's
know.
not true. Back in the day, you were.
back in the day.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Uh-huh.
Oh man. No, we've had an interesting week of shows so far.
Yeah.
Been a little colorful at times.
Really, coach should have been fired. He had 2 championships. He should have won.
Exactly.
You know, we found out
Sometimes, so I got all kind of music.
You got all kind of music, Art.
that DB is a huge Justin Herbert guy.
Yeah, I think so too. But
No,
still,
that's not true. I don't even know how I got painted into that corner. I just used his talents as an example.
Yes, and so it seemed like you were picking him over Trevor Lawrence.
No,
which I think you actually like Trevor Lawrence more than Justin Herbert.
100%.
You just think Herbert's more physically talented.
Correct.
I think it's about even.
Okay, that's cool. I won't argue over that.
That was really the only people thought we were for real mad at each other.
Yeah, but listen, when you have two
Strongly opinionated people.
yeah, that's gonna happen. And we both have a similar discussion style.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I think that's right.
Like even I have to be on my game when I'm talking to you.
So it can spark up a little bit.
Yeah, you're shifty. So I have to kind of keep bringing it back.
Well, so we were talking to
I'm serious. Like your pro agility, you got to be like a 3.69 guy, like real.
I'm sub 4 for sure.
Yeah, real shifty. I was like, so full disclosure, I think that got me off my game more than anything you said.
More than the jokes before.
It was just like I felt like I was trying to bottle smoke. I couldn't quite get it all. Some of it was getting away from me. I'm like, damn.
So I told
this dude is elusive.
We were talking to our boss before this, and
which one, Dollar Bill or CG?
The other one.
Oh, Sash.
Lil Dirk.
Yeah, Lil Dirk.
She's gonna hate that.
So did you see somebody post the signs? And it
yeah,
said
one of them had Lil Dirk on it.
Yeah, I think we should make Lil Dirk stick.
I think it's a thing. But no, she was talking about it, and I go, listen, if somebody pins me down and proves that I'm wrong, I'll accept that.
Well, you're going to be hard to pin because you're constantly moving.
That's the thing. I was like, but I'm not going to make it easy for you to pin me down.
Yeah.
If you can do it, I'll absolutely admit it and own it.
I'm with you.
Right? But I'm not going to let you do it.
You did slide some goalposts on me, though.
No.
So, you know what's funny? As I don't know anybody that agreed with Shafe, at least on my feeds.
About Tua?
Yeah,
because it's not right. It's not accurate.
No, but hear my hurt, though.
Okay.
He was a 5-star coming out. He was not void of talent.
No, I don't think he was at all.
He was an elite level quarterback.
Yeah.
He's clearly making all the throws. Mm-hmm. Why are we so sure he's not more talented? Is it arm strength? Is it delivery? Is it because Tua looks like or doesn't look like Thor?
Yeah, I think so. I think part of it is the arm strength. I think Trevor Lawrence's arm is stronger than Tua's.
So he's Jamarcus Lawrence.
Jamarcus Russell.
Okay.
I think part of it is also size, right?
Yeah.
Lawrence has the prototypical size you want for a quarterback. And I actually think Lawrence is more mobile than Tua. I think he is.
Pardon?
I think Lawrence is more mobile than Tua.
No, wait. So before I engage in this is not where we're going with this podcast, is it? Because that's one of the more ridiculous things I've seen. I've heard.
I think Lawrence.
What would lead you to believe
just
that?
Watching him?
No way you believe that.
Tua moves.
There's not a snowball's chance in heck that you believe.
I think Tua
is less mobile than Trevor Lawrence.
Hear me out here. I think it depends on what you mean by mobile.
Here we go.
That I knew you were going to say that.
Here we go.
If you're talking about moving around in the pocket,
I'm talking about not having people touch me in a game of tag. How about that? Wiggle your way out of that one.
So Tua might be better at that.
Mm-hmm.
I think Lawrence is more likely to pick up yards with his legs.
So you still have the one long Clemson?
No,
run
listen,
in your head,
he rushed for 500 yards in a season at Clemson.
No, I know. Somebody sent you that stat.
They did, and I appreciate it.
Yeah, that's okay.
That's a good number for a pass first quarterback.
Okay.
So like it is one long run that kind of sticks out in your mind, but there is other runs there to get to that 550 yards at Clemson as a quarterback like that.
So can I
non-mobile guys don't do that.
Can I bring this back?
Yeah, let's do it.
You think Trevor Lawrence is more elusive than Tua Tagovailoa?
Elusive, probably not.
Okay.
Like you said, in a game of tag, I'm probably taking Tua.
Okay.
I want to pick up yards with my feet. I think I'm taking Trevor.
Oh, so sometimes I don't know what to do with you.
Well,
and I'm not, but see, I don't really want to engage in this because I'm not saying I would take Tua over Lawrence. I'm just talking.
I don't think you would.
I'm just talking about this particular
skill because I think you're almost as high on Trevor Lawrence as I am. You just don't like the way I describe it.
And he's still got to win more.
He does. But listen, in the NFL, he needs to win more.
They're the anointed ones.
This year, yeah. He needs to prove it this year.
Yeah, but he had 3/4 of his team get drafted. And I don't know if you know this, but apparently you can use that against quarterbacks if they play with other good players.
I'm not using it
against Anthony Rizek.
I'm not using it against him. Listen, Trevor Lawrence has been a winner everywhere he's been. Winning a playoff game in Jacksonville is not a little thing.
Yeah.
Right? Which he has done.
Especially when he didn't play well till like the last third of the season.
Exactly.
But don't let the details get in the way of a good discussion.
Listen, I'm not telling you Tua is currently a better quarterback than Trevor Lawrence.
Ooh,
I think
now it's like bizarre world because I don't even know if I would agree with that.
I think he has played the position better in the NFL than Trevor Lawrence.
All right, that's I'm with.
That fair?
That's fair.
I still think Trevor Lawrence is more talented and probably has a higher ceiling in my mind.
I'm probably not going to argue with you over that.
So we're way closer on this than it seems.
Yeah. So, do you think Trevor Lawrence is more talented than Josh Allen?
No.
Okay.
I don't.
So I'm still back to that generational thing. There's nothing that you can explain to me about the definition of what you meant from a generational talent that would warrant the term generational. When you're not even the most talented guy on a current roster at the position, you cannot be generational.
What I mean by generational.
Okay.
We disagree on how I'm defining it.
No, it just shouldn't have been used. I just wanted you to say that. I wanted you to say, you know what? I shouldn't have used generational anything. I was being very general about the term generational.
Well, I mean, listen, if you want to get real in the weeds, which apparently we have.
That's the pound of flesh I want, because I think if
you're the pound of flesh guy now.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I think if you just say he's a good quarterback and he's got a lot of upside and he's this and he's that.
So if I had said
the conversation is 12 minutes less.
If I had said super talented as opposed to generationally talented, we don't even have a debate.
Yeah. But the sad thing is you got like guys like Jacob and those guys like, well, he wasn't that far off. I mean, people at Clemson.
I don't think I was that far off.
I was like, that's cool, man. But that wasn't the discussion. The discussion was whether generational was the term to use versus the made-up definition of what generational talent really. Because your definition was 100% made up. It was 100% made up.
It was made up by me.
Yep.
But I actually, that's how I think when I say the term generational talent. So I can be wrong about the definition, but in terms of when I say it out loud, that's what I mean. I wasn't retconning it. Like, that's genuinely what I meant.
Yeah.
Was one of the most.
So like if I've never made over minimum wage.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden I get a $38,000 job.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm rich.
Yeah. Like, factually, that's not accurate.
Correct.
But to you, it's the most money you've ever seen in your life.
Yeah. So,
right?
but if I pit that against like the definition of rich,
right, at 38,000,
having a great deal of money or assets or
lower
or
middle class, basically at 38,000.
But that's not even that's still relative, right?
Right.
Generational is not a relative term.
It is though.
It's not, Ravi.
Once in a generation is not relative. Generational talent is relative. It's relative to the generation you're in. It's relative.
So he doesn't even meet that qualification.
I think he does because I think there's several guys that meet that qualification in his generation.
Man, I can't even believe we're doing this.
I mean, this isn't what I meant to talk about. This hasn't been what I meant to talk about for the
Generational
last
is
2
a
years.
term often used to describe a player unique to the position, unlike anything seen in the last few decades. Again,
So that is a much broader definition,
Well,
or a much more specific definition than what I'm talking about.
for the record,
Yeah.
FTR.
Yeah.
What was your definition again?
My definition of generational talent is being in the top tier, talent-wise, of players for about 10 or 15 years. And then you stretched me out to about 15 to 20 because you thought I was too short.
So you still think he's that?
I think he's in the top tier of talent of draft prospects for the last 10 or 15 years. Yes, I do.
Okay.
I genuinely believe that. I think you're talking about Mahomes. I think you're talking about Josh Allen. I think you're talking about Justin Herbert in terms of just talent, right? And I think you're talking about Trevor Lawrence.
And you're talking about Aaron Rodgers.
That's more than 10, 15 years ago. In terms of draft prospect, when he was drafted, that was 20 years ago.
Okay.
Aaron Rodgers is a once-in-a-generation talent.
I don't agree.
You don't
with
think that?
I don't.
I mean, we disagree there. I genuinely think Aaron Rodgers is one of the most talented quarterbacks we've ever seen in the league.
So let me ask it to you this way.
Yeah.
If you could put a quarterback in a lab,
yeah,
and build him,
yeah,
is Aaron Rodgers your template?
Probably not now.
But
at the time he was drafted. At the time he was drafted.
The argument, though.
No. At the time he was drafted. Because now we have Mahomes. Mahomes is a whole different thing.
But I still don't think Mahomes would be your template. His productivity is because the dude is a winner.
We're going to do this thing again. We're going to keep this thing.
I don't know. So who's your template?
Oh, there's lots.
Sorry about that.
So, like my template for a quarterback.
Because here's where it gets a little tricky. Because with quarterbacks, you're not only talking about physical talent, you're talking about arm talent, you're talking about processing of the field.
No. So
arm talents for sure. Still.
So I'm talking physical attributes.
Just physical attributes?
Yeah.
Then yes, Aaron Rodgers is not there.
Okay.
If we're talking just physical attributes, it's probably Josh Allen.
And because it's not Mahomes either.
No, for just physical attributes, but Mahomes' arm talent is so good.
Yeah.
That it
because there are lots
takes
of guys
it to another level.
There are lots of guys you're not starting with that are 6'2", 220 pounds.
Yeah, no, 100%.
So you know what I mean?
If you're talking about just physical attributes, then it's Josh Allen.
Okay.
Probably, right?
Sure.
Allen, Herbert, one of those.
Herbert, Allen, Jamarcus Russell.
See, Jamarcus wasn't as mobile as those guys, though.
But but Trevor Lawrence is?
I think Trevor Lawrence was more mobile than Jamarcus Russell. Am I only thinking of fat Jamarcus Russell?
Yes, yes,
that's possible.
yes.
I'm willing to hear that.
Yes.
I'm willing to hear that for real.
No disrespect to you, Jamarcus.
No, but he had a little weight problem in the league.
He did. Couldn't wait to eat.
Yeah. That's funny. I hadn't heard that. But no, so that's fair. If I'm only remembering the worst version of Jamarcus Russell, I'm willing to accept that.
Because you know what's funny about how we lament over Mahomes? 80%, 85% of the national media and 90% of Chief fans were scratching their head over why Kansas City
when they
traded up to get him.
Yeah.
That's all you need to know. But now that we watch him,
right,
and we're like, ooh, comeback kid, savvy.
So for me,
now we talk about Mahomes as this mythical figure, but he's played his way into that.
Sure.
He wasn't always thought of as that. Because we thought Kansas City was maybe reaching. That's the fact.
That is true. That is true. I think some people, because I've seen it out there, because I'm a big draft nerd. Some people.
That's one of the many reasons we get along.
Some people really believed in his arm talent. They had a hard time separating what was real at Texas Tech.
Yeah, we've seen a ton of arm talent, though.
Yes, we have.
I watch guys throw across their body in workouts. I watch guys throw from their knees.
But
I watch guys hit ceilings in indoor
workout.
And those guys aren't good.
But I also
one is getting ready to get replaced again in New York.
So the other thing that I'm talking about with arm talent, though, isn't just like the ability to make all the throws, but kind of like layering over certain levels of the defense. Like Mahomes is really good at
great
that.
Depth. Yeah,
right?
I'm with you.
And some people recognize that coming out of Texas Tech, and some people didn't.
No way. He was a system guy.
Well, that's what a lot of people said, right? Because it was And they were so bad defensively at Texas Tech that he didn't win very much.
Yeah.
Right. And so I totally understand what you're saying there. You don't look at Mahomes and say physically that's the guy, right? If you're building a quarterback physically in the lab, he probably looks like Josh Allen.
Touchdown,
Right?
Ravi, Lulla.
And I think both of us are passing on Josh Allen
Chiefs Kingdom, I love it.
Yeah. Well,
over other guys.
Well, for passing on Jeff Sims not being able to figure out how to catch a snap against La Tech, we're definitely passing on Josh Allen.
Yeah, because that dude's a turnover machine.
Yeah.
He turns the ball over a ton.
He fumbles the ball quite a bit.
Fumbles the ball a ton. We love how hard-nosed he is, but the dirty little secret is he fumbles it about once a game.
Actually,
I think it's
so far the only thing I love how hard-nosed you are.
I think it's the type of
you
quarterback
remind me of you remind me of my younger Frenchie.
Okay.
He's aggressive. He's got this thing where he knows where he's like walking a fine line, but he's pot committed, so he's going to stay with it. I call him Buddha. He's a bully.
I'm not a bully.
He's low key, kinda.
I think I'm really kind.
Oh fudge!
I think
When
it's,
you're not drinking wine or in your linen pants.
I think it's the type of or the type of quarterback that you want, and I think it's how fast you want to win the Super Bowl, and I think it's how long you want to be actually good in the NFL at.
Oh,
Do you want to? If I would take Mahomes, if I wanted to win a Super Bowl like right away within the first year or two, I would take Allen if I wanted to build on that and maybe win over 2 or 3 over like a 10-year time.
I'm not
period.
taking Allen.
well, so
But I'm just saying that's the type of way you would almost have to look at it. Just
I
really
actually
depends upon how you want to-
actually don't think that's crazy.
I don't
So
think it's crazy, but
he's
I don't.
talking about the build and that style of
Mhm.
play and long. Like, okay, so at some point, do you think Josh Allen would clean up the turnovers? Because if Josh Allen cleaned up the turnovers, I think you're absolutely rolling with Shane.
If he cleans up the terms, the problem is this is not an isolated thing. He has 1 year where he took care of the football, and that's the year where they almost made it to the Super Bowl and the Chiefs nipped him at
I
the.
love how you say almost. That is hilarious.
I mean, it is almost right.
No,
They got real
100%,
close. What was it? The
100%.
17 seconds, the Kelsey, the field goal. The problem with Josh Allen, though, is he's always been this guy. He was this guy at Wyoming. He's been this guy all but 1 year in Buffalo. Every indicator is pointing to the fact that he doesn't take care of the ball well.
What are you, Magic 8-Ball? All signs point to yes.
Yes, I am Magic 8-Ball.
I like you.
I
That's
mean,
fine. That's fine.
So that's my issue with Josh Allen. I would take Lawrence over Josh Allen if I'm starting a team. But I'd take Burrow over Lawrence. I'm taking Mahomes over everybody, right? I don't care what the situation is. I'm taking Mahomes.
Yeah, no, I mean, because you've watched him play.
Yeah, I mean that's what we're doing here, you know.
Right.
But I will say, and we can quit on the quarterback thing after this. This is not what I intended to talk about, but it's not what I intended to talk about yesterday either.
Oh shoot!
I some people, and not you, because you're pretty good at this, but some people on social media and stuff were having a really hard time separating production from talent.
Yeah.
Right.
And we got into this a ton.
And it's not the same
You and
thing.
I have talked about this for
it's not the same thing.
Forever. Oh,
right.
100%.
And I think quarterbacks are so
Jonathan Kuminga is immensely talented.
Situation dependent, right?
Not
I have
very-
no idea if
not-
he's ever going to be productive.
Not very productive.
I mean, J.R. Smith is a great example of this. I have a ton of them in basketball. J.R. Smith is prodigiously talented.
Yep.
Was only ever an okay NBA player.
I'm with you.
There's a million guys like that, right? Rasheed Wallace probably didn't
Immensely talented.
produce to his talent level.
I don't know. Rasheed gets a bad rap, and I'm a little biased because he's a Carolina guy.
He's-
But look at his career stats.
His career stats are better
and
than
he played a long time.
his career stats are better than people remember. And he was probably also born in the wrong era a little bit because as a stretch five now, he'd be, I think, hyper productive.
Oh yeah, and he laments over that too. Plus, he smoked too much,
But again, there's
which
factors.
he also admitted.
There's
He
factors that
smoked a lot.
limited his production considering his talent.
Smoked a lot of weed. No, he did.
But for quarterbacks specifically, I don't think there's hardly any guys that can transcend bad situations. The number of those guys is so small.
Yeah, Andrew Luck maybe.
Andrew Luck, I honestly think Peyton Manning was one of those guys who transcended situations.
Again, and it's funny too because would you say Manning won a ton in college relative to?
he won an okay amount. He didn't win a ton. Like, they were good,
Right.
but they weren't. I mean, he won more than Mahomes did in college, but
Yeah.
he won a decent amount in college, but not a ton. But
Okay.
he's a guy that I wouldn't mark down as prodigiously talented either. The way his mind works is incredibly special
Okay.
for football.
Now we're fine. I'm with you.
But physically, like, there's a reason it was a conversation between him and Ryan Leaf, right? Because Ryan Leaf had all the physical tools you wanted, and Peyton Manning
was
had the
just
other
Manning,
stuff,
Yeah.
right? And
It's
so,
funny too, because Manning couldn't beat Brady forever, and now it's like we put him in this category.
oh, he's not in the same category as Brady.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody's in the category as Brady. Like, Brady's production and career was so good.
That's probably your best example of production not being the same thing as
Brady is
talent.
absolutely. I mean, I think Brady,
highly, the most productive player ever.
yes, literally
in
the most, yes.
in the NFL, but probably not in the 20th percentile in terms of talent.
No, I wouldn't say so. And very situational dependent, right? Especially early in his career. Early in his career,
Some of that was his coach.
yes, but that's part of the situation, right?
Roethlisberger was the same way.
Yeah, those guys were blessed to be put in a situation with a great coach, with a great plan for them, who allowed them to grow as quarterbacks. And there were times in, like, kind of the mid 2000s before 07 where Brady was doing a lot with very little around him in terms of talent.
Yeah.
But to get to that point,
he was throwing to you, me, and Shane.
basically,
those were the good old days.
Basically, he
You
had
didn't like him with Moss. Remember when he got Moss and everybody was like, "Oh my gosh, he's finally playing with a Hall of Famer."
and it looked like it. I mean, the 07 season was bonkers,
prolific,
right? But the year before that, he had like Jabbar Gaffney, I think.
Yeah, Troy Brown.
And like the end of the era, Troy Brown, like on his last legs, Troy Brown. They didn't have any like Rashae Caldwell. Was he on that
Yeah,
team?
Rashae, Florida Gators finest.
So was Gaffney. I think they were both Gators. Both of the none of that should have led to the productivity that he had. So in that instance, he kind of outpaced his situation. But if he gets to anybody else in the league when he gets drafted, there's no telling what happens with his career, right?
Yeah.
So even the best quarterback we've ever seen in terms of production couldn't I don't know that he could have transcended situations, is my point. I don't know if you have anything else to say about this.
I don't.
All right, let's move on then. Because earlier this week,
I think you can put Manny in that conversation. That's
of what? Production
outpacing talent.
Yeah.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah. I'm dang, Shane, 2 decent takes.
Look at this. Look at this guy.
No, I don't.
My guy's just out here getting in the tape.
Yeah, just a lot of drops.
I like it.
What do you mean by that?
The old Shane has resurfaced.
So I'm going to totally switch gears on you here, because I think we've put the quarterback discussion to bed for now. I'm sure.
Say it again. My bad.
I'll sure it'll come back up later.
Omar's coming.
Man.
Who's coming? Omar. Omar's coming.
Ain't nothing new.
I think you'll like this, right? So I was at the Dave Chappelle in Omaha thing on Monday, right? And I'm probably the only guy that watches Dave Chappelle because I find him inspiring. Like, yes, he's funny, but like every time I watch him, he says something
he is closet. He does try to closet in power.
There's like a philosophical,
just to promote individual free thinking.
Yeah,
he's an anti-group thinker,
and not just that, but also, I don't know. There's and this will make more sense once I kind of tell what he talked about on Monday. But one of the things that he was driving home on Monday was the impact of people with powerful dreams, right? And I guess I'd never really heard it put in those terms before. Like, I've heard like believe in your dreams, have big dreams, whatever, but having powerful dreams in the sense of just being able to understand the power
that your mind has no limits.
Yes, that's a perfect way to put it. And then he said something.
We make a good team.
And then he said something that like took it to another level, right? Because one of the things I wonder about a lot is like, okay, I've got powerful dreams, I've got big dreams, but like not everybody's big dreams pan out, right? Like that's part of life. And so what happens when you've got this powerful dream? It's like sometimes it's not going to work out, and it's probably better for you if you realize that at some point, right? And so I'm out there listening to this, and then he says, the powerful dreams are important, but it's also just as important to have the humility to know when you're in someone else's powerful dream. Like when you're not the main character.
Yeah.
Like there's certain portions of your life where you're not the main character.
I'm a huge fan of that. So Coach Samanji was the first person I ever really heard say this, and Coach Rule has kind of doubled down on it now. And it's amazing after all this time, nobody's ever really said this, right? But those are two guys that say something a little like this. Hey, listen, leadership is great. You always want really good leadership, player-led, administrative-led leadership. He said sometimes it's important to recognize when you need to be a good follower too.
Yeah.
Right? Like, because
not everybody can be a leader.
100%.
And
I was like, there's power in that because it's self-awareness.
And there's value.
Which is my big thing.
Yes, 100%. Yeah. Both of us are huge on self-awareness, right? And there's
where am I and what am I doing?
And what are my abilities compared to what is necessary in this situation, right? Like, where am I a good fit? Because, and part of it for me was understanding, like, hey, it's okay to not always be the main character. Like, other people's powerful dreams can still be good for you. You know, we see these shows where, like, you get a best supporting actor nod or something like that in a movie or a show. And that guy played a great part in this big movie, but it wasn't his powerful dream. It was somebody else's, right? And that really, honestly, that whole thing really stuck with me because there's certain situations in my life where, like, I'm wearing the shirt today. That wasn't even on purpose. My guy is a head coach. One of my former players is a head coach at Carolina University in Winston-Salem for basketball, right? And when I first met him, he was a player for me. And I was kind of in this point in my life where I thought I was in my own dream of becoming a significant basketball coach at some level, right? And it has kind of dawned on me that maybe I was a part of Jake's dream. Maybe I was, because he's barely 30. He's a head coach.
That's deep.
You know, like but when I met him, I was the coach, he was the player, but maybe I was just was there to help him out along the way, right? Maybe I was just there to facilitate his powerful dream of becoming a head basketball coach and becoming, I don't know, maybe he'll raise levels, maybe he'll stay where he is. I have no idea. But being a part of his powerful dream as a coach is more fulfilling to me than coaching ever was.
So how much of that, though, because I'm vibing. How much of that centers around the level of maturation over time?
Sure.
Because most of that real time is either going to come across as either quitting or delusional.
Yeah.
Right?
No, for sure.
You're either going to be so hard-headed that you can't realize, like, it's not about you.
Yeah.
That it becomes a burden.
Or you're so hard-headed that you don't realize maybe I'm not that guy.
Or
yeah,
you realize it and people think,
oh, he's a quitter.
You're not committed.
Give up. He gave up.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. No, and that's a super fine line, right? But part of that, it goes to another thing we talk about with Coach Rule all the time, is conviction.
So you know what I gravitate towards with him.
Yeah.
Right. Conviction is the word.
Yeah. Because listen, I coached high school and college basketball for about 10 years.
Yeah.
Right. I knew probably 3-4 years in that it probably wasn't what I wanted to do long term. I was helping people out, but I shifted roles. I went from being on court a lot to doing scouting and strength and conditioning stuff I liked a little bit more, kind of recognizing, like, yeah, I don't have the patience to teach. I don't have the patience to instill the things that need to be instilled. And so I kind of understood that in the moment, but I still hung on for a while, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I knew in my heart of hearts that, hey, this probably isn't for me. Maybe I look like a quitter to some people. I don't know, right? But with this radio thing, I've been doing this for 10 years. And I've been grinding for 10 years, right? And every step along the way, I've thought, I can do this. This is for me. Like, this is my story here, right? And the difference there was conviction. I knew in my heart of hearts that coaching wasn't for me because I was coaching for the wrong reasons. And being totally honest, I was coaching to prove that my ideas about basketball worked. I wasn't coaching because I cared about kids. I wasn't coaching because I wanted to be a mentor. I wasn't coaching for any of those
So
reasons.
at what point did you realize that, though?
I think from the start.
Really?
I wanted to. So here's what it was. I had seen when I was in like 2003, I had seen the first inklings of the Grinnell offense. And I was convinced that it would work at higher levels than it did than just Division III. The principles, maybe not exactly how it looked, right? But that was back then when that was pre 7 seconds or less Suns. Like people were taking 10, 15 3-pointers a game, maybe.
Mhm.
And I was like, what if you took 30? What if you took 40? Right? Basically what basketball has turned into. And so my goal, my driving force was to prove myself right, that my ideas about basketball were right. And I knew that's what I was doing the entire time.
You said this was 03?
I was in high school when I first heard about Grinnell. And then
That's interesting because you know what's kind of more from that, just knowing you?
Yeah.
You're a huge proof of concepts guy.
Yes. I love proof of concept.
Started early.
And honestly,
that's you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm putting 2 and 2 together. Like, because if that was your thing,
Mhm.
that is so micro to be driven by.
Mhm.
It's weird how it's blossomed into kind of part of a lot of your ideology.
Yeah, it really has. And it's part of its ego because I like being right. But more so, I like
That's funny.
getting it right.
Mm-hmm. See, I'm just the opposite, which is why sometimes we'll clash.
Yeah.
I'm more about
You're get it right first.
Yeah.
And
I'd rather get it right than be right.
So I would rather get it right than be right, but it's so close. I'm just being totally honest with you.
Yeah, it's
like for me, it is neck and neck.
Do you know what that?
And sometimes I miss.
Do you know what where that comes from?
Where's that?
I'm used to being coached.
Yeah.
Because nothing I ever did was good enough where people would say, "Oh, okay, that's enough. You can stop now."
Yeah.
It was always something next, right? You need to do this in order to achieve this, or oh, we didn't like that result, so let's try it this way.
Mm-hmm.
Or hey, everybody else is doing it like this. Why don't you do it like this? So I was constantly being critiqued.
Yeah.
I've been critiqued my whole life.
Yeah.
Right. But as you keep trying to go ascend, you know that it's never good enough because you're taught you've never arrived.
Right.
Always keep working. Always
keep grinding.
Always
keep that grind on. Yeah.
So for me, it's just been ingrained.
Yeah.
To get it right.
Yeah.
When I have opportunities to be right, though, I'm very, very cynical about it. So that's the birthing mechanism from how I was raised.
Yeah.
Because I never, ever really could say rest. Like, oh, I rushed for X amount of yards, or hey, man, I just hit 400, or like whatever, right?
Whatever the benchmark
And
was.
I never got to like rest in that because it was always some other feat to accomplish.
Yeah, what's the next thing?
What's the next thing to do? I've become very, my delivery is what it is when I know I'm right. Right?
Yeah.
And sometimes it can be off-putting, but it's not intentional.
Sure.
It's because when I have the opportunity and I know that I can kill the discussion, put a period on it.
Yeah.
It's so refreshing. Because I've never been able to do that before.
Sure.
So I'm very, very content to listen and wait for my opportunity
for your
to
kill
pounce.
shot, basically.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's just funny how it's manifested. So I can do it on social media. I can do it on a message board.
You've done it to me.
I can do it on the radio.
Yeah.
Like I can wait.
Yeah.
I got time.
You've done it to me, and then
I'll
be going on,
Yep.
and then you say something. I was like, nope, yep, I missed it.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like, because
and it doesn't happen a ton.
Yeah.
But when you've got your kill shot, you take it and you hit it.
Yeah, because I never got to do it. It was always what's next. And so I'll be really patient to listen. And sometimes I'll listen to people, just talk crazy, either to me about me or, about, Caleb's a perfect example.
Yep.
I listened for months to what he wasn't. And I never said a word.
Yep.
Never said a
Just
word.
lying in the weeds.
He's not this. He's not that.
Guess what? I think he might be.
Oh, 100%. I looked at those rankings.
Nuts.
I'm like, and so I did say this once. This was probably, I don't know, 6 months ago, maybe. I go, well, the rankings will be what they are. There isn't one coach that I can think of that would not take that guy over any of these other guys if they had to start a team.
Yep.
And everybody, no. And I listened to this one guy tell me, well, always being a prima donna. They got the best players in state. And I'm like, I just sat on it.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I'm like,
we'll see.
I'm gonna go ahead and disagree.
Yeah.
And now every time he steps on the field,
he is by far the best player in the state.
And
I mean, listen, I don't have any skin in this game. I haven't even actually met Caleb.
So those are those times. Oh, you guys have never chopped it up?
No, I've been in the same vicinity. I've chopped it up with Micah before.
So that's kind of what I'm talking about, right? Where it's like,
because now people see the tape and see what he's done the first 4 weeks of the season,
and everybody's all of a sudden different.
Yeah.
When I kept saying the whole time in my head, it was so discouraging. It was just a miserable process to go through, because you don't want to be the guy that comes out and defends or is a yeah but guy. So you kind of just listen. But the thing that bugged me the most,
what's that?
Is people would formulate their own opinion, their opinions based on how they felt about me.
Yeah, which is crazy. I mean,
no, not so much that as much as those are all the things that I tried to protect him from.
Sure.
Growing up. So it really aggravated me. I was like,
but it's also
if I didn't think this was going to be, I'm just being 100% I've never said this out loud.
Okay.
Right? If I'm being 100% transparent, if I could have trusted not only myself, but other people and the last name that he was still going to be his own guy. Do you know how over the top I would have been with Nebraska or my accomplishments or anything that I was passionate about?
Yeah.
But I was so paranoid and so insecure
about that defining him.
Yep. That I totally shied away from it.
So it's not a you thing, it's a him thing.
So it's because I just didn't trust that people were going to be able to separate the two.
Sure. Yeah.
I had no confidence that people could separate the two. And I knew what it was like to have that legacy.
Sure.
In our own family. I saw what it did to my brother.
Yeah.
Being a junior.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm like, you know what? Not doing it.
Yeah.
And there, especially after the conversation he and I had last night, you think sometimes I don't want to go back and get it? There's a little disappointment in the fact that I didn't just trust.
You felt like you left something on the table?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's the reality of it. Right. So when I come and I say, I didn't sleep real well. I'm so competitive that I can't believe I didn't compete at that.
That you gave that up.
Right.
You kind of surrendered.
I totally conceded.
Yeah. Because you wanted to make sure you got it right instead of being right.
Yep.
And I'm the exact.
It eats me up sometimes.
And
it totally eats me up.
I'm the exact opposite because my default is to be right. And I try really, really hard to get it right.
Yeah.
But so I grew up, to kind of give the contrast here, as always being told how important it was that I was smart and how smart you are. And hey, my value, a lot of it was
in your intellect,
how smart you were.
Okay.
So being right is really important.
That's a cultural thing, right?
A lot of it is with the Indian family and stuff.
Yeah.
Honestly, my dad wasn't bad about it the way that some other families are. I've seen pressure really get to kids from our culture. But it was teachers as much as anything. And they weren't being malevolent,
like ill-willed about it.
Yeah, they weren't being malevolent about it or anything. They were just they were praising me, right? But I'm a very praise-driven individual, and so
I did not know that.
Oh yeah,
So words of affirmation are your thing?
a huge thing for me. Like I
Okay.
love
Okay.
hearing that. Like hearing it out loud is very important to me, right? And so because I'm kind of like you, and like I like knowing where I stand. I like knowing where I am, and so the praise is really important to me if I deserve it, right? Because I know when I don't.
Yeah.
And so if it's not real, then I don't trust you at all.
Right. Don't pacify me.
Right. And that can get me in trouble a little bit because sometimes it is real and I don't think it is. And so I get in a little trouble there. But
I can see that. That's funny.
yeah.
How about it's interesting?
Yeah.
Because as you're listening to me, like, oh, I kind of get it now. I'm seeing what you're saying.
Yeah.
That's funny.
And so that drives me. And so being right was so important to my value or the way I felt people valued me for so long.
That's why you're not afraid to say I told you so.
Oh, yeah. I'm not afraid isn't the right word. I am eager to tell people I told you so. Like I will take victory laps on Steph Curry till forever.
Oh,
if this Anthony Rizak thing goes the way I think it will, I will take victory laps on that forever. Right? But it's because I got it right.
Yeah,
and I was right.
Right.
Like that to me, getting those both together.
Yeah.
Because there was a time where being right was way more important to me than getting it right. And that was pretty toxic of me, to be honest. Like that wasn't great for other people to be around. So
patience is not really your strong suit.
I can be patient, but I'll be honest.
Because sometimes that to get it right
takes some time.
It can take some time.
That's like
you have to let things play out.
Yeah, and that's the two parts of me that struggle.
Yeah, so
I'm real patient when it looks like I'm wrong.
Amongst my peer group, I'm, believe it or not, the guy that kind of gets ran over.
I could see that
kind of goes along to get along because
you don't always like making waves,
and I want to let it play out.
You want to see how it goes,
right? Before because I just know, like when I go all in, sometimes it's not always pretty, right?
Yeah.
Like just that, like people that know me,
there's not always a place to like backpedal if it's
no.
Yeah.
When I'm bad, I'm awful.
Yeah,
right. There's zero question,
sure.
right? Like. I just have I burn the whole thing down. Like I'm a total will burn the whole thing down.
Sure.
But it does, in my defense, it does typically now take a lot longer to get me there. But I'm willing.
And that's the maturity, right?
I'm willing to do bad all by myself.
Yeah.
Right. When I was much younger,
it happened pretty quick.
It was very quick.
Now you got a little runway to get there.
Right. And because I don't want to be a burden to anybody.
Yeah.
And if that's the case, like I said, I can do bad all by myself.
You're like I can GTFO and not be a burden to nobody.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I'll figure it out.
Yeah. No, I get that.
So I have to be very, very, very careful.
Yeah.
About when I decide to go there. So I'm slow to go. But just like we saw yesterday, somebody was messing with me. They're like, that went 0 to 100 real quick because I had been sitting on the Justin Herbert thing forever.
For a while, yeah.
I'm not a Herbert guy.
No.
And you could say it could come up, but finally I'd hit my breaking point when Lance said, "Oh, you're a Herbert." I'm like, "No, I'm not. Stop saying that." Like, I don't know where that came from.
So I think the thing that bothers
and somebody was like, "Oh, that went 0 to 100 really quick," and I just because I had been
120
because I'd been sitting on that.
Yeah. So I think what happened was it really frustrates you when people don't listen.
Yeah.
Because
I'm willing to do that with you.
Yes. You get frustrated when people are not willing to do the thing you're willing to do.
It's very much a backhanded.
It's like a backhanded insult.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's funny. That's 2,000% accurate.
Because what really happened wasn't that you were praising Justin Herbert.
Yeah.
You were just using him as a frame of reference for my Trevor Lawrence take.
You know when it comes out the worst?
When?
Is back and forth on Twitter.
Oh, yeah.
Because I'm sure some people will say, God, this guy, you don't have to be so condescending. Like, stop being a D-bag. I'm like, I gave every opportunity. I gave this example. It's why I'm quick to say, listen, man, if all else fails, go back and read.
Go back and listen.
To
the show.
I used to always say that.
To give context to what we were talking about.
Here's the beautiful thing, right? The Twitter conversations are still here.
Yeah. Go back
not,
and
it's
listen.
not an excuse if you jump in the exchange.
Yeah.
And
and don't know what's happening.
No, like that's not an excuse.
Yeah. Go back and listen.
Do you know why that bugs me so much? Because I'm definitely afraid to jump in at the wrong time and miss half the story.
Yeah.
Because I don't like being wrong. I'm very
And you
patient.
don't like getting it wrong.
I'm very, so
Yes.
that eats at me
Mm-hmm.
more than you just saying, golly, man, you're such a Richard Head GTFO. Like I can take that.
Yeah.
Maybe
Don't twist what I said.
Don't misconstrue.
Don't say something I didn't say.
Yes.
Like
But
that.
don't say you said something.
Yeah,
you didn't say.
that's a tipping point.
Yeah.
That is.
maybe
how we-
turn that D bag into a punching bag.
No, so I'm not even violent anymore. Like
No, I'm not saying violent, but just just
I mean,
throw back at 'em.
that is why I like boxing but like that is why I like boxing though. But
yeah.
it's just funny how just processing through this, how it all makes sense.
Yeah, it all I think for both of us, right? Like you're saying things, I was like, oh, that makes sense. And then I'm saying things
I did kind of wonder
where that came from.
like why you always have to be right. And I
Yeah.
know and I would tell people,
Right there.
oh man, this is gonna be combative or oil and water. And I'm like, you know what? Like it doesn't bother me.
No.
I'm not
Well, because it's kind of what we talk about.
I'm not in like and plus again, if you're right, you're just right. Like that's not
like
I'm willing to let that play out.
Yeah, you don't take it personally.
No,
right?
No.
And a lot of this goes back to stuff we've talked about with Coach Rule, right? The reason we're able to go at it like that and it's cool is because of the relationship.
Yeah.
Like I know that you want what's best for me.
Yeah.
I want what's best for you. And at the end of the day, we're going to turn the mics off and we're going to chop it up and have a good time.
Here's the thing though. Like what if I actually learn something?
Yeah.
It's going to help me the next time around.
Yeah. And honestly, like as we're having those conversations, right? Like people don't realize this because of how I come off, but I think about it. Like I think about the Tua thing. I think about the Justin Herbert thing. I think about all that long after the conversation's over. Because
even though you'll kill it.
Yes.
Immediately in the meantime.
Yes. But I also, because I do care about getting it right, my first instinct is be right.
Mm-hmm.
Prove you're right.
Mm-hmm.
But because I do care about getting it right, I go back. I can't.
That's why your delivery is what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why I come off as condescending. And kind of like
and you know that about yourself.
100%. Yeah, I know. And I'm okay with it.
Oh,
that's not a battle I'm willing to fight.
Oh,
to no longer be condescending.
He said, yeah, I'm well aware.
So did you actually get to the topic you wanted to get to?
Kind of. We started touching on it with the Chappelle thing. We didn't get all the way there, but hey, we do a radio show every day, so maybe we will.
That is wild. I'm glad I know the backstory now, though.
Why I'm such an a-hole?
No. Not exactly. Why I'm such a soft batch of cookies now. But yeah, that does make sense. That's hilarious.
Oh, that's Damon Benning. I'm Ravi Lulla. Join us every weekday morning on AM 590 and ESPN Tri-Cities for the Damon Benning Show with Ravi Lulla. And we're still bringing you Edition-ish every week because we don't have time to get into stuff like this on the show. So make sure you like, subscribe, follow both of us, all the things we do. We appreciate you, and we'll see you again next week.